much for being here on the Scrunch Creator Economy Show.
Thank you for having me. It's really great to be here.
So good. I've been looking forward to speaking with you.
Me too.
Why don't we just start out with giving everyone some context? So tell me who you are, where you're from, and how you got here.
So I run a PR agency called Global PR, and I run a talent management company called the Talent Assembly. It's a big, long, winding journey as to how I got here. I dropped out of high school in grade 10 and sort of just stumbled into PR and really liked it and decided that was what I was going to do. So launched an agency, as you do. The business has really grown quite significantly over the last sort of 10 years. But a couple of years into that initial sort of PR journey was right around the time when influencers were becoming massive, right? Like just huge across PR, and just it was everything that every client wanted to do. So looking to capitalize on that and sort of look at how we can bring it all in house and keep it all in the family. We launched the Talent Assembly, and it was so that we could offer both sort of PR and service those clients, but be able to provide influencer marketing and influencer access to really great talent all in house. So that's sort of how it all came about.
So cool. I mean, I'm so impressed. I love the high school dropout element. Shows you that, if you actually just set your mind to something, those types of things do not matter.
Yeah, I agree.
It's funny, actually, I was speaking to somebody literally yesterday, and they were like, I went to business school, but like everything I do in my business, I've had to learn on the fly. Like it was not helpful.
Yeah, I agree. And I guess it's sort of it's a loaded question, right? And it's something I sort of get asked a lot, because there's always, you can't sort of blanket out that there's not the space for that traditional educational landscape. But certainly for me, in my experience, I'm not someone that thrived at school. It just was not my thing. And I found that as soon as I sort of got out into the real world and was learning on the go, I absorbed so much more in that first year of business that I feel that I did in however long of a formal education. So it's not for everyone, but I guess for me it's sort of worked out all right.
Totally. And I think it's just like when you start your own business, it's kind of like you just have to, right? You just like, if you don't step up and you don't learn and you don't just like get shit done, then your business isn't going to go anywhere.
Exactly. That's the thing, right? The stakes are so much higher, because it's like you succeed or what's the alternative? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So talk to me about PR. So what is PR? Like there's so many, I always think like people get a bit confused about PR. What is it and why is it so important for any business?
It's definitely a confusing sort of sector, right? I like to sum it up that PR is kind of anything you see or hear from a brand, because we're having involvement, and that's a pretty broad spectre. And obviously marketing and advertising folds into that. But I come from the point of view that any good brand will sort of have PR across those elements and across those briefs anyway. So everything's working in sync. So anything that you will kind of see and hear from a brand should come from a PR sort of person. And in our day-to-day, we work across fashion, entertainment, and lifestyle brands. Cool. So a lot of sort of fashion shows, celebrity dressing. We work with a lot of really great food and beverage, FMCG brands. And then we work across sort of live entertainment and live stuff as well. So the brief differs, from client to client, but pretty much it's working with media. It's ensuring our clients' stories are sort of out there, responding to things that might arise that aren't necessarily favorable for the client, and how we can sort of work through that with integrity for the brand, and sort of work to have the best outcome for all involved. So that's kind of a snapshot of this murky, messy, all-inclusive world that we work in.
And it's interesting because like when you say, fashion, entertainment, lifestyle, it seems super glamorous. But then when you're like, actually, what we're doing is like, making sure the story's right, wrangling media, making sure we jump on opportunities. It sounds a little bit more technical than glamorous.
It's so technical, and it's so much work, and it's so not glamorous. I mean, we can be working on the most fabulous events, for 1,000 people with fireworks and, a red carpet arrival. But the reality is that the work to get to that point is massive, and it will be a 20-hour day. I think a lot of younger people come into the industry thinking it's champagne and canapes, and the reality is it's just not. It's a lot of hard work. And I think too, the industry has changed so much over the last 5 or 10 years, specifically from our end, both with how news is consumed, but the sheer volume of it.
Yes.
It's not just working with sort of traditional media and traditional journalists, or even TV producers to place a story. It's looking at so many different opportunities across so many different forums now. You really have to be creative and be switched on, and kind of be going 24/7. It's not sort of a 9 to 5. Let's hope it works within these hours. It's I know for myself and for our team, we're consuming news literally the entire time that we're awake, because it's looking for that next big story. It's looking for something that might align with our clients, that we might be able to sort of position off the back of for that next big op.
Wow, that's incredible. I can only imagine, like, your brain, right? Like finding stories, reading things, consuming, going, how does that align to my clients and what we're trying to do? Like full on. It's my personal goal to find a job that's all champagne and canapes. So if you hear of one, let me know.
That's the dream, right? I always think that, I'm going to have quite a life. I'm going to cut back. But I think the reality is, if I were to ever do that, I would be bored out of my mind.
Oh my God, absolutely. I completely agree. So, I mean, really interesting point that you raised, like how the landscape has changed, and we've gone from very traditional media outlets to, oh my gosh, anyone, everyone can be a journalist, with the rise of social media, with the rise of influencers. How has that really impacted the stories you tell about brands and how you get the message out there?
It's impacted it in every way that you could imagine.
Wow.
I would say too, we've really learned over the last few years that the devil is in the detail. Like, and that sounds silly and so simple, but it really fine-tuning everything and making sure that every line, everything that we're putting out is correct, it's factual, it makes sense. There's not going to be repercussions, and if they were, how might that be addressed, and how can we look to fix that? It's the business has changed so significantly, and continues to change, which I guess in one hand is really exciting, right? Because no 2 days are the same. And I think too, from like a personal development sort of side, you're always pushing to be better, to learn more, to sort of grow within that space and look at new skills you might be able to hone. So it's completely changed inside and out in every way imaginable.
Wow, that's incredible. So from a talent assembly side of things, talk to me about that side of the business.
Yeah, so we started with about 2 or 3 sort of talent that I happen to have relationships with, and over the last few years we've grown to have about 60 talent internationally. So it's quite a big operation. We work with about 200 clients worldwide, and some really fabulous brands like Tiffany & Co and Louis Vuitton, right down to sort of more localized mum and dad operators, which is fantastic, and it's a real great mix. So the day-to-day, I guess, from that end is sort of, personalized sort of talent management and working across our talent and their diaries and what they might have going on, and then looking to sort of the commercial side and commercial arrangements on behalf of our talent, which can get blurred because from a PR point of view, we do quite a bit of that for our clients anyway. So sometimes it's nice crossover, and sometimes it can get blurred.
Wow, no, that's awesome. So when did you start the talent assembly?
A couple of years in. So it would be maybe 7 or 8 years ago now.
Wow. So that's kind of like at the beginning of when influencers are starting to take hold.
Definitely, right at the beginning. And we didn't have any sort of idea at the time what that looked like. So a lot of it was trial and error across everything day to day, just sort of see what works and what doesn't, how can we pivot and adjust and learn from it.
Oh my God, I love that. I think that's just a great business philosophy. Like the market is always going to change, right? And you've got to be adaptable and try different things.
Definitely. And haven't we learned that through
Oh,
COVID? Almost overnight, just entire strategies and quarterly plans out the window, and we're left sort of with
you're
nothing.
going,
And
I
how
don't
can we
know
make
what's
it work?
happening.
Yep, exactly.
That's so cool. So how have you seen the influencer world change since over that last 7, 8 years?
It's changed quite a lot, hasn't it? And
Mm,
continues to change. It's we've seen it sort of get more um, not stricter, but there's certainly more sort of guidelines and rules that we should be abiding by around the industry.
mm,
I think a point of difference with us, and certainly what we've been working to achieve more recently over the last sort of year
mm.
is genuine, like real, like we throw that word around a lot, right? But actual,
Yep.
real, genuine alignments,
Mm,
and talent that are really actual, genuine consumers of whatever the product, service, offering might be, and looking to not capitalize on that, but sort of engage that, or existing sort of a relationship and existing know-how of what that service or product or whatever the offering might be, um, for a genuine sort of engagement.
I love that because I think we went through a phase with influencer marketing where there were all of these campaign platforms kind of cropped up, and it was kind of like put in your brief, put in your budget, and it will spit out a bunch of influencers. And I feel like the world has shifted a little bit, and now brands are really thinking more authentically, wanting to have those real conversations, wanting to build relationships with influencers, which I kind of think is a great thing for the consumer.
Yeah, I agree. And longer lasting relationships too are things that I
Yes.
think are wonderful, because it not only adds, I guess, credibility to the brand and to the campaign and whatever it might be.
Mm.
It's then it just it's great all round, because it's I don't even know the words for it. It creates something that I guess is more authentic and longer lasting, and something that's already resonated with the particular talent's followers. So it's already
Yeah.
there and it makes sense.
Yeah, and I think you raised a really good point earlier about, I guess the post-pandemic world that we're living in. And I think, this idea, like all brands kind of had to change like overnight, right? They had to connect more authentically with their consumers. They had to be more real, like stop being so polished and, perfect
Yeah.
photo shoots. And, we were all sitting on the couch in our trackies. We wanted to connect with brands who kind of got where we were at. And I feel like, influencers were the great conduit to actually achieving that. But that's kind of stuck around. So brands really need to be more considered about who they work with. And I think the creative freedom that they give them.
Definitely, definitely. I think there's been a lot of challenges that COVID has brought, right? But I think some of the good sort of outcomes that we've learned through that are here to stay, and that's really great to see. And to look back at sort of where the influencer industry was when it sort of first started becoming popular almost 10
Yeah.
years ago, and I think it was just sort of chaos, and there was so much going on, and everyone just sort of wanted to engage anyone, and alignment, or really, if it was a great choice, didn't massively matter as much as the following count mattered. And
Yeah.
yeah, like you said, I think now there's so much more consideration from brands about an authentic alignment and an engagement that makes sense.
I totally, totally agree with you. And it's interesting. So, I feel like two kind of like contrasting worlds, like PR, you talk about you've got to be super considered, factual, like on brand, like make sure you kind of really nail it. But then we've got this influencer side that's like kind of give them a bit of creative freedom, like within boundaries. How do you think about those two worlds and from a
Yeah.
brand's point of view, like navigating both?
It's a really good point, actually, a really good point. And I think living between two worlds does help in that regard.
Mm,
But I think that comes back to, if the alignment is right, it should make sense. Not to say that there's no need for a brief or pointers or whatever, but
mm,
if there's trust there, and coming back to authentic alignment, perhaps an arrangement that's longer lasting, there
yeah.
should be that trust there that. Both the content creator is going to create something that speaks to the values and core pillars of what the brand is about, um, Yeah.
And you
If that
mentioned
answers
a
the
couple of
question.
times like longer contracts, so like longer relationships with creators or influencers or whatever we're calling them now.
Yeah.
What do you think the value of that is to a brand to actually enter into something that's a little bit more meaningful?
I think it's more valuable for the brand than it is for the talent. I mean, obviously the talent are being compensated monetarily, but I
Mm,
think the value for the brand is there in credibility, right? Because it's
yeah.
not just sort of a one post and done, and it's off the feed and it's deleted. It's
Yep.
something that's longer lasting, and that consistent messaging of whatever it might be, right? Only adds to the credibility of the brand and the messaging.
Yeah, I love that so much. I think that as consumers, we need to see, brand info in so many different channels, so many different places, like reinforced before we're ready to buy. I totally agree that, if it's a post I see that an influencer makes and then I never hear about it again, I'm like, I wonder if that was just, I got paid, it's done. So I
Yeah.
think you're totally right. Like the value is for the brand, actually having all of that content out in market, reinforcing it with consumers that it's an authentic alignment and that you're getting that kind of consistent brand message out there. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, 100%.
And so where do you see, what trends do you see coming for whether it be PR or influencers or both, if you've got a perspective? What do you
Yeah.
think's next? What do brands need to be considering in this landscape right now?
I think super engaging content is like top of the list, right? So and that can vary from brand and sort of brief and campaign, but it's all about engaging the
Mhm.
follower and engaging them within the content, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
Something, I guess, off what a traditional influencer would be, but something we're really focusing on at the minute is from a PR point of view with some of the clients that we work with, we're looking at really capturing real consumer feedback and real consumer
Mhm.
success stories. And if that's something that we can sort of leverage across the brand's own platforms and sort of build that customer's social following as well, with
Mm.
someone that's already engaged with the brand, loves the brand, already has a relationship with the brand, we're almost building this ecosystem of mini influencers that are already engaged and have really great things to say. So that's something we're really honing in on for our clients at the minute, whether it's Fitstop, which is a really great gym brand, or City Cave or U Foods, but these brands that have sizable followings and receive hopefully good consumer success stories or really great results, and how we can sort of leverage that and build off that and create something that's longer lasting for both the individual that is already enjoying the product or whatever it might be, and then for the brand as well.
I think that's so cool because, when people hear the word influencer, they go to that person with tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of followers. But, the word influencer just means that they're influential, right? Like that they have some level of influence over the people they talk to. And that might just be a handful of people. So I absolutely love that you mentioned actual customers, like people
Yeah,
that already love and engage with the brand. I think that brands underestimate like their own communities, and their own customers. Like leveraging them as your influencers first can be such a powerful strategy.
definitely, and looking to engage them too, right? Because hopefully if you've got a good brand that that does what it says it's going to do,
Yeah.
customers should be happy. So
Yes.
it's tapping into that and making them feel valued and a part of it, and almost getting in on the ground level. You know what I mean? To sort of be a part of
Mm.
this journey and where it might be.
That's so cool. I love that. So, just to wrap, any tips for a brand who might be dipping their toes in the PR or influencer world? Are there any things that a brand should really consider when they're getting started in this sort of space?
I think it's important to have, especially if you don't have any sort of prior context to the world of PR or influencer marketing, to have to invest in
Mm,
some reliable resources, right? So reliable information that you can sort of that is going to be good founded. So whether that's an online course you can do, or investing with
mm,
an agency or someone that is an expert in that area, but spend some time collating some resources. I think too, it's important to have, and we throw this word around so much, but an authentic sort of approach to things. So it needs to make sense. Let's not just throw shit at the wall, if you excuse my
I love that. It's
don't
so
just
true.
throw it at the wall.
Yeah.
You know, jumping on everything, running with everything, whether it's PR or influencers, sort of try to align with stories or whatever it might be that makes sense, that you know, your voice has something to contribute rather than just jumping on the back of a trend, right?
I love that so much. You are absolutely incredible, Jeremy. Thank you for spending your time and sharing your insights in this space with the Scrunch community. You're amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been so much fun.